There we go. They'll love her. So it's not my usual time to stream, but I'm going to be out of town next week, so I'm doing makeup sessions. And I figured, hey, there's some interest in watching me do the painting, you know? So why not give it a shot? I'm just going to put on some background music real quick. Chill beats to painting. Sit up. Webcam thing's not. It's weird to me. It's not capturing the webcam. The webcam isn't looking at me. Glowing blue light staring directly at me. I think it's gonna be fine. Ooh. So yeah, oh. Forgot. Okay, that's what I was missing. My knobs turned wrong. There we go. Knobs are in place. So you know, I had this thing black and white last time you guys saw it. I think the issue that I was ultimately running into is that I wasn't really filling out the volume, all of the values on the figure, and then I hadn't quite balanced the values in the background. Like, I think there was too much similarity between the figure and the background immediately behind it, and then maybe too much contrast between the fire. So I went and I did some cleanup, did some detail. Here you go, look at this. And I brought in some variation into the background. I immediately started feeling pretty good about it. And then with that, once I went and put the really, really similar color overlay over it, it immediately started working. So I pushed it around a bit. Add a couple embers, then I'm messing around with some gradient maps that are kind of building up the contrast. I'm going for a bit more of a Frazetta look on this. And after some tweaks, adjustments, now I'm back on normal layers again. Yeah, thank you. And so I think this is more or less kind of what this piece is going to look like. With this being kind of me feeling like there's Frazetta vibes, I'm thinking that the first thing I should do is look up to see if there is some reference that is kind of in line with what I'm going for here. Oh, here we go. He's got a lot of these pinks here. Very interesting. So I'm just going to save some of these inside my my working folder. Oh, Web P. Oh, God. Web P, really? Gross. AVIF, even worse. What is happening with images on the internet? Morning, Summer. Web P? We gotta find whoever invented this WebP thing and do something about him. So I think this is kind of what I'm going for here with this mix of like orange and blue and black. Come on, JPEG. There we go. It's not that I'm going to copy the Frazetta style directly, but there's always questions that arise over the course of the process, asking, exactly what are, what exactly is the solution to the problem in front of us? Yeah, who's out there making WebPs? I don't think I've ever saved a WebP in my life. There's points where I'm going to be looking at a thing and I'm going to ask myself, should this be red? Should this be blue? Should this be soft? Should this be hard? No. I mean, the questions that arise are like, what should this be more of? What should this be less of? Right? And so, there's not really a guide to what should this painting that no one's ever made before, that this painting I just started working on, what should this be? There's no right or wrong answer to it. But there are plenty of things that work or don't work. And I can ask myself questions about, and if I ask myself these questions, I can then go and look to a folder full of images from very successful artists, and I can see like, okay, what would Frank Frazetta have done with this? Is there generally more orange, more yellow, more blue, more red, more crumbly or smooth? What are we looking at? What do we want? Is there, in terms of the balance of detail, how are muscles sculpted with this kind of lighting? There's all kinds of questions that can arise, and then you notice little things. You're like, oh, wait, weird. The shadow color on this hand is going really red. Interesting. And so it's not a matter of like abstract questions like, well, what does a good piece of art look like? These are more specific questions. What's up, big dog? That's what they call me, Big Pete. What's up, Jay? I'm working today. I struggled yesterday trying to work on this painting live on stream. But then I got it through this sort of threshold of like getting a color rough, and now I feel like there's a chance that I'm going to be able to like get some real progress on this because it's past the point where I have a lot of really open questions. You left your other job and now I'm working at Starbucks. Oh no. Sorry to hear it. Pays better for less hours. I'll never worry about job security, LOL. I'll be making $40K a year. Well, there's that. Starbucks is always trying to brag about their benefits and stuff. Dynamic figures perched up on a rock. Hard to beat it. Everybody likes standing on the top of the hill, don't they? Oh, so it's not your first turn at the as a barista. Look at this, the orange and the blue color palette there. Very interesting. I love Frazetta's like blocky shadows, where it's like a big solid block with a gradient in it. It's such a confident look. I always want to kind of push towards that. I never quite make it there, I feel like. Yes, Dustin. I am here. I said I was going to, and then I did it. I hit the gym this morning, and I didn't feel like totally freaking beat up afterwards. So something's happening. I'm not getting stronger, but I think my stamina is going up. I always make sure to treat my baristas kindly. Seeing so many people be jerks to anyone in the service industry, it makes me so sad. You know, I tend to be a jerk to people in customer service a lot, but I've never had a problem with baristas. I mean, maybe it's because I'm just ordering black coffee. So I like, you know, I'm always giving them easy orders and, you know, not making a big deal out of anything. So it's, my interactions with baristas tend to be pretty easy. So when someone ends up being the kind of human shield for some sort of dirty corporate bullshit, where some massive billion-dollar corporation is trying to rip me off, and then they get like some poor sod to sit there and act as like a human shield to try to protect them, those bastards usually get it from me. Oh, yeah, restaurants, I'm never blowing up at people. I mean, restaurants is like hard for everyone involved. Like, I salute to everybody who works in like food service. You're all crazy. Like, everyone who owns a restaurant, everyone in the back of the house, the front of the house, the whole thing is such an insane operation. I could never do any of those jobs. So I have crazy respect for people who do that kind of stuff. I mean more like people who work at like the cell phone store. We tried to bring my kid's phone in because it was malfunctioning. And they claimed that there was water damage in it, but the water damage sticker hadn't changed color. They were claiming there were flecks of color change at the corners. And like, you know, basically telling us the phone they sold us 6 months earlier was junk and that I needed to buy a new one from them. And I was like, awesome. Thanks for trying to make sure that no one gets the replacement phone that they're due. And that you're just out there carrying water for your fucking terrible, shitty phone company. So, yeah, I freak out on people like that. The customer service people that work for like Comcast and stuff get it from me every once in a while. I go berserk when I'm confronted with something that I know is just a corporate like mandate that asks their employees to mistreat the customer. You know, as a business owner, I try to do my best to do right by my customers. And so when a business goes out of its way to mistreat its customers, I get mad. And it's not the person's fault, but they are intentionally like promoting those policies and following along with them. And instead of subverting the interests of the company, they subvert my interests and I get pissed at them. So getting punched over a drink was an unreal moment in my life. Holy shit, man. No. As much as I can be an absolute nightmare customer to like somebody at the T-Mobile store, I'm unlikely to even get fussy with a barista. I had a woman order a grilled shrimp meal and then flip out because the tails were on the shrimp and then demanded a refund. If I get really bad food at a restaurant, I will quietly eat it and then like I'll just never go back. But I never like throw a fit. I don't think I've ever returned food to the kitchen. Even when there's like noticeable problems with the food. I've gotten food with like weird discolorations and like off things about it and just gone ahead and said, oh yeah, it's great, thank you so much. And then I just was like, I'm never coming back. I can't do it. But I don't want to like turn it into a scene. I don't know what the difference is. I'm so meek when it comes to like sending food back. But I like me in the Apple store or the T-Mobile store, I go full Karen at the drop of a dime. There's the reason they don't buy one get one frappuccinos anymore. People consistently were getting at least verbally assaulted. Holy shit. Starbucks is an easy ass place to order from. I don't get it. It's like It's coffee. Coffee's delicious on its own, and then you throw a bunch of sugar and whipped cream on it. Like everyone, it's fine. It's delicious. The syrups that they have, like for like pumpkin spice lattes and stuff, are scientifically engineered to like please the human brain. There's no reason to ever get mad. But you know, my kid got to see it. We went to there was a day where we were like showing up early. We were like getting out the door really early, and I was like, "Oh, do you want to get a treat over at like the Starbucks near your school?" And we sat there and we watched like 3 ladies spend 20 minutes trying to order because they kept asking for employees to go into the back and look for stuff that they told them they didn't have. And I was like, well, I guess you're not going to get a treat after all, you know. And he's like, what was wrong with those women? And I'm like, I'm sorry, son. That was a Karen. That was a pack of Karens, pack of wild Karens, and I'm really sorry that you didn't get a treat today, because they kept asking the employee to go in the back and check over and over and over again for a certain type of like pre-packaged breakfast sandwich or whatever. Yes, so this painting did come a long way in the last 24 hours. I logged in last night to just poke away at this a little bit, and I think the majority of what happened here was this layer here. So like this is kind of where, this is more or less where I was stuck. I added some additional rendering on the figure, fixed a couple more little issues with like the wrists and whatever, and got it tightened down. But like this is what I was actually missing. See, the reason I couldn't get the colors on this was because there was a lack of like value contrast between like it within the background and also between the figure in the background. And then once I did a couple of quick, really loose washes, I mean, I'm gonna see if I can isolate this. Just a couple of really loose, quick, large brush strokes to balance out a few issues. All of a sudden, almost the exact same color layers were producing these intense, dramatic results instead of like this wishy-washy, loose crap that I was getting before. And that's all it took. And I knew that like I just needed to have a clear head and like feel comfortable throwing some loose paint around, and I was going to be able to like get over the hump that I was stuck on at the end of last stream. And I was exactly right. I've been down this road before, so I kind of know what I'm in for. And then, you know, I was feeling pretty good about this, but I wanted to see if I could push it a little bit before I made it, before I committed. And so I layered on some adjustment layers, and I was getting this like really intense, like super dramatic and colorful and like, you know, kind of palette that felt to me a little bit Frazetta-esque. So that's why I've been pulling Frazetta reference at the beginning of this thing. Is he aiming at 1 or 2 targets? I think he's going to bring down the vault of heaven. I don't know. Like, I think that the sky itself is in danger. In a previous life, I used to own a bar. You owned a bar? And dealing with the public is both the best and the worst. Kevin, you owned a bar? What is this guy's lore? Who is he? This is Uriel, Archangel of Flame. I love having there be like humanoid figures that are like small in comparison. Like the size of the angels is kind of relative. Like they could be planet sized or they could be like slightly larger than human sized. And I'll just do it differently on different illustrations because I imagine that they could manifest in different ways. But I do like being able to sell like the sort of scale of it, not just through the perspective and the atmosphere, but through like having these little figures with them to add something. Does he have a particular story? I mean, no, he's the physical embodiment of fire. And in this case, he represents the kind of like, he represents, you know, passion and power. In the Rider-Waite deck, like the Lover's card is intended to be, you know, representing more along the lines of romantic love and like romantic relationships. But there's also classical interpretations of tarot where the 6th card is the Lover which represents wealth and passion and power, and is sometimes, represented with an angel with a bow. The cat getting on top of things. Yeah, I felt like I got lucky. I was like laying out early versions of it on the card, and I realized that the way, if like the text box is going to be here, actually like the composition works really well propped into the card like this. You can see I always give him a little bit of extra elbow room around the whole thing. I tend not to like I see a lot of people trying to keep like the edges of their compositions like pretty close to where they're drawing their guy. And this is how I used to do everything. And as soon as you make one edit, you end up with a tangent, and the whole thing feels kind of cramped in. You can see how the fact that the elbow and the knee kind of line up suddenly call attention to themselves because they're equidistant from this very close edge. But nowadays, I always give myself a little extra room. It means that I could potentially turn any of these into book covers if I wanted to. So, if I wanted to put some text up here, I could be like, make myself a nice book cover out of something like this. And it would be about a book about the coolest guy. Actually, if it was a book cover, I'd probably have to give it way more headroom. So, like, if you look at a lot of old, like, Michael Whelan paintings, love Michael Whelan stuff. He's got these really wide open compositions, and a lot of these are because they're like wraparound covers. People tend to make wraparound covers look like shit because they look like actually kind of like two compositions that are split down the middle and kind of taped back together. But Michael Whelan always had this thing where he managed to make like the sort of open space on the left and the open like upper right quadrant all feel kind of natural, even if it was going to be used as a big wraparound cover. There's this Brandon Sanderson cover he did not too long ago. But he's got a lot of like vertical pieces that have these tons of headroom over the top of them, and they never feel like it's concessions. There's something about it that always feels like it's this sense of airiness in the painting, more so than like room to put a big title plate. And I always thought this was really cool. So like I could theoretically do a piece like this, like it's same sort of idea where it's a central figure climbing up on top of a thing, and just give him like a huge mountain of headroom at the top and make it like a Michael Whelan style like cover piece. But I think for the card, I think that this is actually a really good fit for the composition. Hey, Vital. You opened an Irish bar in Greece. That's cool, man. That's a cool little moment for life. So, yeah. So, the place I'm at with this painting right now, I've got a lot of like stuff that was like just the loosest blob is now like a semi-formed blob. So like the hands, for instance, are now semi-hand shaped. These hands are kind of like pulled together a little bit. Some of the torso anatomy is starting to get pulled together. It gets rougher as we get towards the edges, but even like some of this background stuff has started to like take a certain amount of shape. So, with all the colors there, just like with the studies, once I've got all the colors there and everything's kind of loose and the values are relatively arranged and the structure of it's all like there, then all I really need to do on top of it is to make a normal layer and just start going to town on some of the rendering. So that's the plan for today. I thought I was either going to like put on a movie and do this, or sometimes this step is like the place where I really like hanging out on Discord and working. I'm gonna take the spark. I have the sparks on their own layer, I think. I'm gonna keep them at the top and then maybe mark them And I'll get back to those and like clean them up on their own separate layer later. I don't really want to paint around sparks. They're not really worth that much attention. The first place that I go to when I'm working on a piece like this, like, I think the temptation for a lot of artists is to go straight into the figure. There's plenty to do. You can see how like the color temperature on like one arm is like, the color temperatures and like the shadows and highlights is not really that consistent. I need to like figure this out. I need to do a lot of tightening up with the anatomy. I should probably be well served to flip the whole canvas and continue to make some last minute structural adjustments. But what I actually, the habit that I developed, and this has served me super well, is that I start working back to front. Back meaning whatever's furthest away from the camera, and then I work towards whatever's closest to the camera. But, you know, less specifically, what I tend to do is I tend to sort of like start with the least important elements first, and then kind of spiral my way inwards. So that's just kind of how my attention's going to go. So I'm expressly looking past all the interesting parts of the painting back to like the most boring, the least in need of work parts of the painting, which are like bits and pieces of there's something weird with the color space on this. Bits and pieces of like the background, like clouds in the corners, because like I just don't want to forget that stuff, and like the level of detail that's like going to be happening in the back of something is going to inform what's going to, you know, the amount of detail that's going to be for the thing in front. If I can do the thing in the background and like get that cleaned up, then I don't need to go back and forth where I like, if I'm working on the bow, for instance. Do we have something wrong with my blending modes, or wrong brush or something? It's not quite, I don't know. It feels wrong. If I go and try to clean this up, I then need to oftentimes go and like blend in what's happening. Like the mark that I used to carve that edge, I need to then blend back into the background again. I found that like if I work back to front, I need to like go back and forth less often. Where if I do all of the background stuff first, then I can just paint the foreground stuff on top of it and I'm done. As opposed to like trying to do the foreground stuff and then paint the background stuff around it in a clean way. So the whole beginning of this process is going to be me doing literally the most boring parts of the painting. And I'm just going to be using my round brush for a lot of this, because like, especially with these like loose cloudy things, like that's what the round brush really excels at. These sort of loose organic shapes. There is something about the color space on my monitor or something that's giving me this like kind of weird banding that I'm not 100% on board with. I wonder if all the adjustments have brought some of the colors into like a peculiar like part of the color gamut, and like now I'm fighting with them a little bit. These darker saturated colors that may not like exist naturally in the color space. Hey Nexty. Well, I'm glad to see that a lot of you regulars have managed to find me even on my even though I'm streaming on an off day today. I was a little worried it was so quiet in here when I first powered up the stream. One of the things Ash and I were talking about was potentially downgrading monitors. I was thinking about experimenting where I get rid of my 4K monitor as my primary monitor and instead switch back to like a kind of large, like standard resolution as opposed to like a 4K high resolution monitor, because it like This is something about the 4K-ness that like engenders a kind of overworking and like over-rendering. Daniel Hooker art. Bang Kickstarter. Yeah, the Kickstarter's in its final day, final 24 hours. I went and I fired off a lot of my promotional posts this morning before I went out to the gym, before I got anything else important done. I got that fired off. That way I'm able to like actually move on and take care of other things today. I saw it crossed 120,000. It's good. I feel like these last couple of days have so much momentum in them. I have no idea where it's going to land. A CRT? No, not a CRT. Just like I went and I had like a regular LCD monitor that's what, like 1080 by 220/48, something like that. Thanks, Daniel. As opposed to like the 4K resolution, I'm not sure. The standard HD instead of 4K was what I used for like a long time, and then when I switched to the 4K monitor, I thought, oh, this will be great. I can see all this texture, like I can use more textured brushes and get a clear sense of like what this is going to look like in print before I like print it out. I'll have just like a clearer sense of what my painting looks like earlier, and it's going to be awesome. But I actually think I got worse at painting almost immediately after getting it, and I'm wondering if maybe like there's something about just having it be a little blurrier that actually like helps with digital art. It's a theory. What was the turnaround time on enamel pins? Think about doing for my Kickstarter. I don't know. It's usually like, I would say about 6 weeks. Turnaround for enamel pins. I would like to try painting on a CRT again, because I haven't painted on a CRT in a long time. 15 years maybe. It used to be my main thing. It's like I took a long time upgrading to an LCD monitor just because like the color on the CRT that I was using was awesome, and I had like a really big one. But I kept having to move around this like giant heavy brick of a monitor. On that one sketching you did you use your usual brushes for the sketching part? Yeah, I think so. They are relics. Yeah, it seems like CRT monitors are mainly just used for Smash Brothers these days. Playing Melee. I mean, it's not like there's anything about the instant refresh rate that I need for... Yeah. I could fit a CRT on the jerker. That's part of the thing about the jerker that's so good is its depth. BD Nerd, welcome. You're wanting that IPS CMYK controlled monitor, but they get pricey. I don't think I do. I want something that's like, I just want something that's lower resolution to try out painting on that to see if it keeps me from getting too finicky. I want to like return to Monkey. I want to go back to like a prior era of my digital painting to see if there's maybe, if I've just been enraptured by modern like technology and it's not actually serving me. Yeah, turns out Melee's still pretty good. Tough to beat. I mean, true Monkey art brain would just be like go and work in oil paints, but I kind of stink at oil compared to digital, so I like all the cheats and hacks that I get out of working digitally. Monkey. Monkey. Yeah, we'll see. I might get around to it as an experiment. I've got some old monitors kicking around, so I might just grab one and swap it in, and immediately I'm going to do nothing but complain. What if you just added graininess to your painting? I don't know, maybe. I wanted to give this a try because it's a free experiment to try. I just need to move a couple of things around. I've already got a bunch of old low-res monitors. And so I just need to plug it in, and then I'm going to complain up and down about it. As soon as I plug it in, I'm going to be like, oh, it's so blurry looking. I hate the way this looks. I'm so used to the other way, blah, blah, blah. But just like everything where I like, everything where I like complain up and down about it, I'm usually glad that I did it afterwards, even when I like, you know, want a bellyache, whinge about the process. You know, like today, I didn't want to go to the gym, but I knew it was a good idea. I knew to get back in there, and I felt great that I did. I was happy with it. I just like to whinge, all right? I like the word whinge. I like to do whinging. And I just hope that people like get some sort of kick out of like hearing me be like stuck within, you know, trapped within my own frustrations. I'm hoping that that's entertaining for people, that they're like, this guy's just like me. He loves whinging. Is that how you spell it? I thought it had a G. And an H. I guess I've never written it. First I've heard of it. I think it's more of a British word. I wish Kim was around. Yeah, it's like whining. Yeah, whining. I think they might be the same source linguistically. I'm always whining and belly aching about stuff. Any of you who've been on the stream know that. It's classic Pete behavior. Stream 2 days in a row? That's right, Jumping Dragon. I'm trying to pile in all of my streaming before I have to leave for a week to go do Lightbox. Hear me out. Make the pronged arrow glow hot at the tips. Jay, it's a good idea. I was thinking about, you see, I already had this glow coming off here. I was like, maybe I should make one of these fiery. But then I was thinking drawing fire up here would like be too distracting for the composition. But glowing with heat is maybe not too much. And it contrasts with the black. Like, I think that actually really works. That's a great idea. Listen, no one else is allowed to backseat for the rest of this stream unless you have a really, really good idea. Like, generally, backseating bad, don't like it. But if you've got a really, really good idea that's going to just make my painting better and you're 100% on it, go for it. But shoot your shot, but no, you could get banned. I could ban you. I don't think I've banned anyone in the stream before other than like maybe one guy was just popping in to say the N-word. I don't know. So you could be one of the very few rare bannees if you want to try your hand at like telling me what to draw on my stream. Get banned, kiddo. Get wrecked, son. Put a pair of flaming solar corgis? Come on, Summer. Don't make me do it. You got a lot of shitty ideas? Well, yeah, feel free to make a lot of shitty paintings then. So with a cloudy background like this, some of these areas I want to have like lots of really long loose transitions, and other ones I want to start actually getting a fairly tight edge to like the cloud clusters and start breaking them up into tinier pieces, and maybe even getting a little bit of that like crumbly edge forming of like highlights getting formed along the edges of stuff. But I really don't want to do that all over. Like the goal is to try to create a rhythm with it where there's going to be a variety of like types of edges and amounts of edges and stuff that appear throughout the clouds. That's what makes clouds look good, is variety. People get caught on the details. They see the details and they go, oh, I should put details everywhere. But no, really great clouds, they've got details sometimes. So I'm going to reform like this. He's got this kind of blue halo around him right now. I'm going to be reforming that and maybe stretching it out a little bit to sort of break the frame a bit in places and, you know, have a little bit of a contrasting rhythm with the figure. I definitely need some of these more solid, darker bits to like overlap, because if there's no sense of overlap, that's really going to kill like the sense of the character composition. Art Brainer. Oh my god. Are you a known community member? What's going on? You got that artistic brain? Got to learn how to use opacity more like by doing studies, dojing studies. Dojing. So I can mix colors better. More than an artistic brain, a lot more. Is that a sex joke, Jay? The music's a fucking bop. Good. Yeah, put it on the old playlist. This playlist is actually pretty good. My dream, no, is Get Banned by Peter Mohrbacher. Please ban me. Carrot Zero. Draw the shine moon behind him. What the fuck? Sometimes I think maybe I'm like having mini strokes, you know, that like I can't read because maybe I'm dyslexic, maybe I'm like having micro strokes or something. And there's other times where I'm almost certain it's you guys. That like I can read good writing just fine. It's when it's like default Twitch commentary that makes me feel like I'm having a stroke. I read it right. Okay, good. Oh, where did this little line come from? Not sure. Doesn't make it less brain damaging to read. Yeah. See, like yesterday's stream, so hard, so fucking hard. Trying to problem solve a piece live on stream, terrible. I didn't want to do it, but I wanted to see how hard it was really going to be because I'd gotten a lot better at streaming, a lot more comfortable. And today I was telling Anya, oh, I think I'm going to stream my progress today. She's like, why? Why would you put yourself through that again? I'm like, it's going to be easy. Because I'm already going to have the thing. I'm already going to have the thing up. The thing's already up on the board. No more problem solving. I'm just going to be rendering or whatever. It's going to be easy. And yeah, it is. It's like actually kind of fun and easy to just fuck around with it when it's in this state. Because I don't feel like I actually have to make choices or like justify my stuff. I can just kind of like, you know, fix these minor issues and push it around. It's easy. I was just making a joke at my own degeneracy, not a sex joke. Okay, man. Gotta get over that learning hump. No, I mean, it's like, there's different phases of the painting and they require different, like, amounts of, and like, you know, amounts of brain power, but also different kinds of brain power, different types of thinking. And like, I think some of the types of thinking that you need to do are like especially difficult in an environment where people are talking or where you need to talk. And while, you know, there's like a lot of painting I can do while I'm just sitting on mic on a chat in Discord. Easy. But there's other parts where I am just totally incapable. And part of my strategy recently has been to just sort of like hang out either on Twitch or on Discord and do studies. Because most of what I need to do in a study is the sort of thing I can do while I'm chit-chatting. And so I've gotten like 88 studies done in the last few months, and I've finished like 2 paintings. This is the Lover card. Avocado dope. Nice. How are you progressing your creativity? I am just trying to hold on to whatever creativity I got all the way back at the beginning of my art career and just hoping that I don't get dumber. Saying a lot. Yeah, I've never checked myself on that. I bet I probably do it a lot more than I would want. You missed all of it yesterday. Sure. It's fine. You know, we got the VOD out there on YouTube, and I don't think you missed much. It was a lot of me struggling, whining. You're gonna be struggling today? Good. Everybody should get into some sort of struggle. If you're not like, if everything's easy, you're never gonna get anything out of it, you know? There's gotta be some struggle. I'm a very effective speaker. I do a lot of talking. I do take over the conversations a lot, if that's what you mean. Is this like Cupid? I mean, yeah, sure. Kind of. Like the bow thing, like the angel with the bow is kind of like a Cupid-like thing. But isn't this like the most badass Cupid ever? This is like the Zack Snyder Cupid. Actually, if this is the Zack Snyder Cupid, it would probably be like a hot babe with a bow. It's like half naked and also like really tough, like badass. Trying to learn new things and accepting it will probably annoy me. Yeah, I mean, putting yourself in a position of frustration from time to time is really good. And then I do find people tend to fetishize it a lot. It's good to like come back to a comfort zone and like know where that comfort zone is so that you can take whatever learning you've gotten and apply it. Blitz lost in my head. I think he's like a chef late to a barbecue, so he's sending his tools to the grill from miles away. That is a take I had not considered. Yeah, I am the grill master of the household, so maybe this is a self-portrait. I do, every time anybody asks about like what a piece is, I do tend to just tell them it's a self-portrait every time. So yeah, I'm gonna say this is me firing up the old barbecue. Throw down some chicken breasts and sausages. I got my own blend of spicy seasoning that I hit that with. I mean, yeah, he doesn't need to send the tools away. He's got the barbecue right up here. the arrows will skewer the meat on the way to the grill. There's going to be like a complete shish kebab, like arriving at the other end of this thing. That would be pretty epic. I'm into it. I'm not done with the backgrounds. I'm going to make sure I don't get too distracted by these other little details and stuff. Thanks, Blitz. Yeah, no, I mean, you guys have kooky ideas. Feel free to share them. I won't ban you for that. Or will I? Yeah, this is the last major arcana that I haven't touched yet. I've got the whole collection-ish up on the website under Tarot Angelus. 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 22 cards in total. This is going to be the last one I haven't touched, but I got edits. I need to add a cup, and I also want to do some like lighting touch-up on the Magician. I'm going to replace the High Priestess because this one started off largely with like AI stuff, and it is not what I want out of like the look of the overall deck. I feel like it stands out in a bad way. The Empress, I want to make alterations to design it because all the other ones are like similar to like an existing Angelarium character, and the Empress doesn't look like any of them. It's more like a random different Angelarium character, but like not even quite. So I'm going to make some costume changes to adapt the Empress to be Penimwe, Angel of Script. Emperor, I want to adjust this pose. I think this arm is weird. Hierophant, I might leave. I don't love the Hierophant, but I also have nothing specific I want to change. Chariot I just finished, I'm happy with it. Strength I just finished, I'm happy with it. The Hermit has some weird like geometric bits in it because I thought that was going to be like a design thing that was going to be throughout the tarot deck. But like the background is like oddly geometric in a way that I'm not sure makes sense. So I'm going to take a second look at it and see if I want to actually do some like final cleanup on it. Wheel of Fortune I'm happy with. Justice, I don't know. I don't love this illustration, but I also like don't have anything specific that I want to do differently. Hanged Man I'm happy with. Death, I really like this illustration, but it has, again, this was a piece that I like did like a hybrid AI traditional workflow with, and it's got a bunch of like AI chunks in it that I want to paint out. So I'm gonna revisit this and just make it all hand painted. Temperance is good. The Devil I really like, but it also has some like AI stuff in it that I'm probably gonna do like just an hour of painting to like clean up a couple of things. The Tower I'm gonna redo. I like rushed it when I was like stuck on ideas, and then now every time I think about it, I think I have better ideas on how to do this card. Star I'm happy with. Moon I'm happy with. Sun I'm happy with. Judgment, I don't like this illustration, but I don't have anything specifically I want to do different. World is I'm happy with. So I've got a handful of them. 1, 2 that are just getting fully redone and replaced. Minor edits to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 of them that I'm going to do edits to. So I've got to retouch like 7 of the cards after I'm done with this. But it's something I haven't done before. Like when I've done previous collections, I've just worked through them once and just called it. But I'm choosing to make edits on this collection because it was like I had this weird side quest where I was spending time experimenting with AI tools early on before they got controversial, because I thought they would like boost my ability to do work. And instead it ended up like distracting me from my painting. And like I had this period of time where I felt like I kind of like got worse at drawing and painting, and I was messing with like my workflow and like moving away from my own sense of taste and my own like standards of working. And then I've kind of like swung back and gotten my groove back later in the collection. And now like I feel really proud of the work that I've been doing recently. So I want to make sure that like the earlier pieces in the collection that don't conform to that style like are going to be brought in line so that it all feels like it's all done by the same person. I might do a little bit of work on judgment because I was like trying to stylize some stuff that now I think I could probably be better off going a little bit more realistic with it. So that'll be the major arcana, and then I'm going to put the tarot project down for I think a year before picking it back up and doing the minor arcana, because I've got some other major projects that I want to get to, and I don't want to put them off to like do another 50 illustrations. You love the tower? Okay. Well, there's one person who said they love the tower. It's fine. But it's for an Angelarium like landscape, I want something that's going to be more epic. Like I'm happy with like the rendering of it, like the lighting. There's like some textural things that I'm happy that I did, but I want to do something more grandiose, and it shouldn't be hard for me to pull it off. So I'm just gonna like take another swing at it, and I think I can do better. Buying 6 tarot sets seems unnecessary. No, people love buying extra tarot sets. People collect these things. It's part of the reason why tarot decks are so valuable to artists is because fans of tarot will never stop buying new decks. Whenever they see a deck that they like, they'll buy it, even if they're never going to open it or use it. So for some people, this is going to be like a way of collecting like a huge number of my pieces in like a really nice box with like really nice cards. And it's going to be, 78 illustrations all together with a booklet that goes with it. It'd be a great collection. For some people, it's going to be their thing that they use to make decisions. They're going to be using it actually as like a tool for divination. Other people are going to be fans of tarot and they're going to collect it and they're going to like just put it on a shelf and be happy they know they own it. I find that different people tend to like interact with the same purchase in different ways. But for me, tarot is an interesting challenge that I had on my mind for many, many years. And I was scared to give it a shot because the largest collection I had done was like 20 pieces. And this is already the largest collection I've made. And I'm not even halfway through it. So it's a big, big boy. People will buy watches or shoes, pretty much anything collectible. That's true. Yep. There's a culture in tarot. Being a part of being an artist that is like a part of a larger culture is really valuable. I think that's one of the things that artists lose on is like that they lose sight of is that they want to be like the artist that other artists respect, but really like artists aren't there to make other artists impressed. Like our work is often used for other things and exists in a different context. And so being an artist who's recognized within a community of non-artists, whether you're like the artist that snowboarders love or like the artist that like everyone in tarot owns your deck, like those sorts of things can often be more meaningful and valuable than being like the artist that all the other artists say is really good. Having your peers like respect your work and help like share it and stuff can be very valuable, but it's not the primary goal. Not for me and not for most people who are independent. It can be a dangerous and unhealthy side quest to try to be the best artist in the room full of art in a room full of artists. Yeah, 30 years from now, I'm hoping that somebody's going to be out there going like, oh my God, you got a first edition Mohrbacher Tarot? That's crazy. Like, I just got the recent re-release. But the plan is like that it's going to be a huge project to finish something like this, but it's something that's going to be valuable to me for the rest of my art career. And it's going to be valuable even to like my kids. One of the reasons that I like self-publish a lot of stuff is because I'm a stickler about maintaining enough of my rights where, 20, 30 years down the line, when I'm planning on still exercising the rights for this stuff, I'll have access to it. Thankfully, I've started to discover some publishers that are willing to work with me on these kinds of projects, allowing me to do things the way I want, and like letting me maintain some level of ownership and control, while still getting the stuff into retail. That's the real ideal. I think that's what people kind of expect is out there, but I think a lot of the deals that are out there from publishers are usually pretty exploitative. It's really easy to lose control of your stuff. So I've been hopping on the Xbox during my off hours. I got that new Forza game, and I've never been a racing guy, but there's something about being a suburban dad that I think like there's some number of sports games that I like have to get into. Otherwise, I have to like kind of like give up on being a suburban dad. So like, if I'm not going to be playing Madden and I'm not going to be playing 2K, I think I have to play Forza. I don't even know that much about cars. So like, I'm like, oh, these cars seem good. I was playing Horizon 5. I thought it was all right. But I didn't want to stick with it in part because a lot of the events, I couldn't feel like I ever got a handle on it. Like I like the more simulation-y racing as I get older. I was playing a lot of Wreckfest because it had like really, really realistic physics on the driving physics and like the crashing and stuff. So it really felt like I was trying to push like a big heavy metal thing around through space at high speeds. It didn't just feel like a video game. It felt like I was like trying to learn how to actually drive. And so I was hoping that the Forza Motorsport was going to be a little bit more like that and a little less like, an arcade racer. And I've been very happy with it. So I just hit the button to auto customize every time. I just want to get back out on the track, and I want to like learn how to do better at like braking and accelerating and doing turns and stuff. I just want to like get out there and do the driving because I suck at driving. But I do like racing in real life. Whenever I can get out to the go-kart track, it's fucking exhilarating. I love it. Yeah, they always look shiny, but I always thought, wow, that's really great, teaser footage or whatever. I'd see it during like a show reel on like E3 or whatever. That was like my only interaction with it. But now on Game Pass, it's like free to download this like monster game, this like 90 gigabyte behemoth of simulation racing, and really get into it and like really try it out for one of the first times, you know. So this is my first Forza Motorsport game. I also never played any of the Gran Turismos. This is all new territory for me. I'm digging it. I'm really hoping that it like helps me get good at like learning how to do a racing line, and then I can take that out to the go-kart track and fucking smoke people out in real life. That's like my real goal. I want to trick like friends and family to come. I want to get good at racing, stealth, and then I want to like take friends and family out to the racetrack, and I want to blow them out of the water. Racing feels like an opportunity to get like unreasonably competitive in a safe environment. I don't think you use your neck muscles in video game racer. That's true. I don't feel like a lot of like go-karts you actually end up having to like, you're not sustaining that much G-forces. A lot of it is just managing your grip. We have the same pub stomper mentality against unknowing participants. Yeah, I don't know. I like winning at stuff. So as much as I like a challenge, I also like to every once in a while just like not have a challenge, you know? Whenever I've gone go-kart racing, I always race super aggressively, like more aggressively than they want me to. And I always end up sliding all over the track. I'm always coming in too fast on turns, and I'm always going through and skidding a ton, and like it's blowing my times. Like I'm not that good. I'm faster than the average, you know, go-kart track walk-in, but only barely. And I want to get to the point where like some of the people that go there regularly would see me and go like, huh, I wonder what that guy's deal is. Not actually good, but like have a good enough handle on the fundamentals that like people go like, huh, when they see like my times compared to other people who are like walk-ins at the go-kart track. And I want everyone that I've come in with to go like, holy shit, when they see the final times at the end. Like, this wasn't even close. Not competitive till you're losing? Yeah. In China, we did gas go-karts. And spinning out was so for real. You know, the electric ones also, they can get decently fast. But yeah, I've done gas ones here in the US. I mean, here in Florida, there's a lot of race infrastructure. There's a lot of racing culture in Florida. So it's not hard to go and find like a pretty decent track. Like I can go find some places where if I had my own go-kart, I could go and do like, I could sign up for a league and shit. And I wouldn't have to commute that far. But I'm not at the point where I'm going to be buying my own gear to go go-kart racing. Secretly trained StarCraft 2 and grinds up YouTube videos 2 weeks later. Yo, anyone want to play some PvP StarCraft 2? Well, that's the thing is I like watching StarCraft. I'm fucking terrible at it. So the only way I can actually play it is like offline against people who like aren't that good. Because like it would be kind of an even match. But the only person I'll be able to trick into doing that is my kid. I want to play with Dustin. Dustin knows just enough about StarCraft where I think we could probably have like a normal ass showdown. While I upload this video to YouTube, yeah, I think Dustin's gonna pull the VOD. And I'm not going to be finishing this today. This is just a sort of like intermediate, well, late to intermediate stage of the painting. It's the beginning of like the last and longest step in my painting process. Let's see, this is the kind of stuff I'm doing today. Not changing the look of it overall, but like just adding a lot of texture, surface texture, a lot of finish, cleaning up crust, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm probably gonna stream for another hour, and then I'm gonna just call it 2 hours of cleaning up little bits of cloud craft, chit-chatting. Call that a work session. If I can do that once a day, I can be banging these out. That's the thing that keeps getting me, is I keep realizing that like if only I were to paint for like 3 solid hours a day, that I could be churning paintings like this out back to back to back, and it wouldn't even be that hard for me. Because like the total hour count on them isn't that bad. The problem is that like I always get stuck at various points, and you know, certain parts of the process are uncomfortable or require specific environment to work in, and so I just become like a bit of a baby about it. I put stuff off, you know, and you know, sometimes I find myself spinning my wheels or need to look at other things for a bit, and so I'm only finishing, you know, 1 or 2 of them a month, but I could be finishing them weekly pretty easily if I were to like sit down and do them, you know, 3-4 hours a day. I wouldn't even need to put it in long work days on it. I had this plan where I was going to wake up and just paint first thing in the morning from 5 a.m. to like 8 a.m. And then by the time everyone else was getting out of bed, I would be like done with the most important part of my day. And I'd just be like one of those rise and grind, like Sigma mindset dudes. And I'd be like crushing it. But no, I get up about 6 every morning on a work day, and you know, there's a lot of like laying around drinking coffee, watching YouTube, and there's a lot of like, and then when I get to work, I've usually got some emails that I absolutely need to take care of that day, and so it's like this cycle of procrastination to try to like put them off just long enough while still getting them done. And then I need to like go take care of other stuff. Maybe I need to like try to keep up on something like my gym routine. And then I'm kind of wandering my way back to the desk around noon. If I'm streaming at noon, I'm doing studies and not actually working on something like this. And so I've been only getting work done on a painting like this on days where I put off everything else and make it top priority, which is pretty rare. So I'm like working pre-dawn for a few hours. Or after dinner, I'm finding myself bored, and instead of laying around in bed watching YouTube videos, I will pop on the computer and just start like poking at whatever painting I've got. That's how I finished the Chariot. It was 2 weeks late on it, but I was just bored, and I wanted to hang out on Discord and like chit chat, and you know, so I'd pull it up and I'd work on it for like 2-3 hours. And after like several nights of that, I just had it done. It was like almost didn't even mean to finish it. It was just like, you know, it's hard not to after a certain number of hours. So if I did that if I scheduled my thing where the rest of my stuff where that was the first thing I did in the morning, I could probably finish paintings like this every week and like never paint any later than like 9 a.m. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think that's going to be the way to do it. Yeah, I've got like 3 YouTube channels now. Yeah, some people like their like nighttime when everyone goes to sleep is their peaceful time. Some of my most peaceful times have been when everyone is still sleeping and hasn't woken up yet. It's not like the whole morning person thing is bullshit. It's just a person by person thing. Like night owl, I'm also jealous of night owls because normally I can't work on anything productive. I can't get my brain into gear after like 6 p.m. And so it doesn't matter whether or not I've got free time. Like, I just am too dumb after dinner to like accomplish anything meaningful. And so I hear about people staying up till 1 a.m. getting work done, and I'm like, man, I sure could get a lot of work done if I knew how to work during those hours. But I'm kind of getting good at the after dinner like hangout sessions. I think, if I were to stream for 3 hours a day in the afternoon like this, and streaming helped me work a little better instead of making me work a little worse, I could get all of my work done in stream and I would fucking kill it. It would be great. But streaming is just enough of a distraction. It makes me just self-conscious enough to make it kind of impossible to do that. Like, we were discussing ways of potentially keeping the streaming going, but like maybe not being such a huge disruption. And we're talking about like, what if I were to paint on my own time and then record it and then just like commentary over it for during the stream? But that kind of doubles the amount of time it takes to do any painting, because I'd have to, like, if I did 3 hours of painting, I'd also do 3 hours of streaming for the same amount of work. Just like doesn't really make sense, I don't think. Honestly, I kind of want to like see if I can hand it off to somebody else and see if somebody wants to just do a Mohrbacher painting commentary stream every day. Or I like record like a couple hours of painting in the morning, and then like I just like hand off a file to them and be like, have fun. Like, they come and hang out. But that's kind of not the point, right, with streaming. Like, you want to be in touch with whoever's like the person you want to see. And if that's me, having somebody else watch a video of mine is like not the point. Whenever a piece is at like this state, I could easily pop on and chit chat and show it off and talk about it and stuff. But I do, like, when I've done something like that, I've always gotten complaints about, oh, can you show the earlier parts where you did all the interesting choices? And I'm like, please don't make me. Don't make me do it. Yeah, there's a Pete Mohrbacher, there's a Mohrbacher Classic channel that is like my ancient 14-year-old YouTube videos. There's the Angelarium channel that has time lapses of my Angelarium paintings. And then there's the new one that's the VODs for this stream. I wouldn't be like a real YouTuber unless I had way too many channels for no reason. That's how you know I'm legit. Mr. Beast is up to 16 channels. Yeah, Mr. Beast reacts on an Espanol. That guy's... People accuse me of like being really good at juggling between lots of projects. I have no idea how that guy works. It's crazy. Even with delegation, like the number of channels and the amount of like diversity of content he's doing is like unrealistic by any standards. Mr. Beast was an android sent back in time to make us all feel bad about our creative output. Yeah, the pain of just wanting to draw and then having to be a multimedia creator, having 40 plus channels. I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the things I want to avoid. I have done a lot to sort of split my attention between different aspects of my project for a long time. And one of the aspirations I have is to actually get kind of like, because I have a lot of my operations, my actual money-making operations are largely automated. Like, you know, my sales, my website sales, all of the stuff gets done basically on its own. And so I've got administrative work that I need to take care of all the time. I like constantly having to clear out my email. But I think that if I were to like get myself focused, I could actually just have like one project. Like if I was just working on the tarot And it was like, okay, you need to do 54 paintings for the minor arcana. I'd be like, I think I could do that in 9 months. But like, if that was my only job and all I did was like wake up at 6, get my coffee, kind of stumble into the office, poke away at a painting, leave to go to the gym, come back, like get a bite to eat, play a little games, log in again, stop at dinner, hang out with the family a little after dinner, and decide to go wander back in and do a couple more hours of painting. I could probably finish like almost a whole painting every single work day that I did like that. And I could probably finish like all 54 minor arcana, even as like relatively like large scale paintings, in like 3 months. But I've never ever worked like that. Like I'll have a couple of days where that's my painting schedule, and I'll realize like how my life would be different if all I did was paint. And I never ever schedule myself to be like that, where I'm that focused and intense on my work. I'm always splitting my time, and I've always credited the fact that my hand hasn't given out to like the fact that I split my time between like administrative and like artistic endeavors. But recently I'm thinking like, you know, I could really go. I needed to split my time much more for the sake of the way that like my whole business was running, because I was personally handling a lot. But I might actually be able to like, you know, really ratchet up the amount that I'm doing in terms of painting. I finished 88 studies in the last 3 months. I think if my main job was just painting and I wasn't trying to be a multimedia creator, I could probably get a lot of shit finished. I could bust out big series quickly and do like huge amounts on like my RPG or the tarot or whatever, if it was my only job and I wasn't juggling. So that's like one of the things I've been thinking a lot about, is like after I get my course finished, like first like kind of ratcheting back on some of the painting projects that I have going to focus on my course. And then once the course is finished, to like pick up a painting project and having that be my like full-time job. That could be really different from what I've been doing, and it might be really effective. Because I mean, most people that are like concept artists or whatever, their two jobs are to like draw pictures and drink coffee all day, take coffee breaks. And that's every office I've ever worked at, is like artists are sometimes doing artwork, and most of the time they're like having a series of elaborate coffee breaks and meetings. I didn't work at like really hardcore studios with crunch though, so I don't know. Used to have really long lunches. I worked at some easy studios. They were very dysfunctional. Kind of glad to have given up becoming a professional, so I can just draw however I want and don't have to worry about posting. Yeah. I don't think me focusing on art would be unhealthy long term, because I don't really want to like paint for 12 hours a day. I don't want to like be breaking my body with incredible like stamina runs that require exceptional amounts of stamina. I really just want to like, I don't know. I want to be drawing daily. Most of the time where I've been independent, I haven't been drawing daily. I've been drawing more daily this year than I think at just about any point other than the very beginning of Angelarium, back like 10 years ago, because of the studies. And that's what's been really making me feel like I could really ratchet it up and have a great time doing it, because I've had a really good time working on the studies, and like, you know, they've been an escape for me and not just a job. Fun places to drink coffee and write emails and do nothing productive. Yeah, I've really thought about it. Like if I wanted to have like a vacation from being an artist, I would like see if maybe I could get a job at a game studio and then just be like a really lazy employee. And just like have all of my bills paid and insurance covered and all that kind of shit. and then just like be the least productive concept artist in the studio. And just like, you know, sit back on my heels and like just appreciate getting carried by this like corporate structure. If I really got burned out and I needed some serious time off, I might do that. And if they got upset with me, I'd just quit and go back to this. I'm not being funny. That's what I would really do. You could get away with that for years. Yeah, I would get really upset and frustrated at like the lack of productivity when I was like in an office and there was like, never felt like anything mattered. So I wanted to like make games and I wanted like the project to work out, but everything was always fucking doing bad. Everything was always bad. And so I was always frustrated and I was always complaining. But like, I think I'm a really different person than I was last time I had a job a decade ago. So I think I would probably have a different relationship with it, especially if I went in with the express purpose of having it be like an easy slap and not just like, you know, me trying to like, it being like a major point in my career, you know? Because like all the stuff that I did during my time working in studios was like largely going to waste. You know, I did 3.5, 4 years at a studio, working on a studio where the game like never even came close to coming out. And most of the work I did, the only reason it's ever seen like the light of day is because I've broken NDA, just posted it anyway because I didn't think anybody really gave that much of a shit to like be mad about it. And then the other studio, all the work came out because it was for a live game, but it was for like a game that like lived exclusively on Facebook. And I don't think people play Facebook games anymore. So like the millions of dollars that were spent on that game by our customers have all like just gone to waste. I'm pretty sure that game is like long sunset. You're in an office now for a few months. It started to annoy me after like 1 week. Like, let me do stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I like part of the reason I work for myself is because I like being productive. I like making choices about things. I like getting projects started. I like seeing things through to completion. You know, I like getting to take the credit for their successes. Within an institution, that becomes a lot tougher. I've been thinking a lot about indie games recently, about like at some point in the future wanting to like get involved in something like that. Something where I would have the same level of involvement, but it would actually be making like a game. Because that actually seems a little bit more plausible to me than actually just coasting. I'd be coasting if I had gone through some like serious trauma and I needed like downtime to feel like I need to recover. That's when I would coast. But like if I'm healthy, I want to be involved. I want to do things. And so in an indie environment, I think I could probably a better speed for me, you know, a little bit more multidisciplinary and having my choices and my involvement matter more. Yeah, I don't know if I could actually even work at an office because, like, I don't think there's any game offices that are commutable distances from where I live right now, and I don't really want to I don't really want to move. I mean, I really, really don't. Like, we've gotten settled for like my family's gotten settled for one of the very first times ever. Like, we've always been a little nomadic because every time I had switched jobs, we'd have to move, and so we'd move between cities like several times. And then now the kids are getting big. It's like they're in a school and they're like geographically close to the school and stuff. It would be a huge life upset for me to take a job at an office where I had to show up. So a job realistically right now would be a remote gig. And that would be, instead of me sitting around doing like water cooler shit like all day, like hanging around having long coffee breaks, it would be me sitting around like playing Forza and watching YouTube at home. Instead of just working on something I care about. Again, I would have to be like recovering from some sort of trauma or something for this to make sense. Hey, I wanted to find work in a studio doing career concept art, illustrative work, anime designs. What steps do I take to put myself in that position? Man, I don't know. Last time I got a job was a decade ago. Like, my advice on this stuff is like probably getting pretty stale at this point. I would say, if I had to guess, you're gonna hate this advice. Draw a bunch of art that you like and then go show it to people that work in that industry in an environment where they're like hanging out and drinking. So like, if you can find a place where you're going to, like, there's like drink and draws or mixers or whatever, going to conventions like GDC, getting in a room where people are like working in these environments and then just spending time with them socially, talking about whatever and making sure that they're aware that you're like somebody who's qualified to be working alongside of them. I think a lot of the people that talk about aspiring to be in that kind of environment with that kind of job don't actually like they don't actually have like the skill set for it yet and are kind of hoping to sort of learn on the job. That's really typically not how it works. Like, you kind of have to be overqualified for jobs in the game industry because it's so competitive. So if you're making really amazing looking work that's turning people's heads, that's probably step one. And if you already got that settled, you know, you go out and hit some conventions, some game jams, drink and draws, you know, whatever, where people are kind of like in a semi-social networking environment, and just go and meet people. Make sure people know that you have a portfolio, that you're good at what you do, and that like you're looking for a job. And, you know, I've seen it work out. I had a friend who just got a job as a senior as his very first job in the game industry, just because, like, you know, his portfolio was senior quality. Just spent all day on Discord doing studies and like making portfolio pieces. Yeah, networking. I mean, the way that people look for jobs, the way that companies look for jobs is the inverse of how people look. Companies that are looking to hire use a sort of list of priorities that are inverse of a person who are looking to get hired. Like, the first thing you do is like go look at a bunch of job postings online, but that's actually the last place that a company wants to like put their job needs. The first thing they're going to do is try to hire internally. See if there's somebody in another department or another team that can do the job that they're looking for. And then if they can't do that, then they start looking for people that are in their immediate professional network. And then once that's kind of dried up, then they start like, you know, looking further and further afield. And if they're really fucked and they really can't find anyone, they'll put up a job listing as like a desperate last attempt. And so when you like go and try to apply to like job listings online, you are like putting yourself in the mix, trying to get hired at like for a job that they are struggling to find someone who's the right fit for it. Because if they weren't struggling, they would never have gotten to that point. So what you want to do is you want to get yourself further up the funnel. So like they go, oh, we're spinning up a new team. Does anybody know anyone? You know, and you'd be like, oh, this for projects that we're trying to get going. You should hire my friend from Discord. This guy's awesome. He's so good at this exact set of thing that we need. You know? Or like, oh, we're so glad we met you. We've been trying to find someone who does this. And it's like, nobody internally on the team already is like specialized in the thing that you happen to be really good at. That's what I think is true. But again, don't take my word for it. I haven't actually tried to find a job in a long ass time. The last time I got hired, it was because I was getting fired from my previous company. And when you get fired during a layoff, like recruiters start digging through everyone's resume almost immediately. Recruiters love hiring people that have already proven themselves to be qualified at another studio. So like if you can get fired from a game studio that's in the middle of layoffs, that's a really great way to like find a job in the game industry. Not exactly like a repeatable strategy though. This fire doesn't look too bad. I feel like it's changed a lot how artists are found or contacted versus 2003, which is when I did WoW and White Wolf stuff. Oh, I didn't know you did WoW stuff and White Wolf. Yeah, I mean, like, I think more like I think that social media has become a bigger part of like the hiring thing nowadays, because it's like sometimes you can be in somebody's network without having ever met them, because like they follow, you're like mutuals on socials, and if you go and say like, hey, I'm really super unemployed or really need a job, like one of the people who follows you might actually be someone who works at a studio. And like that was not necessarily, that's not the sort of thing you'd be able to do from like a DeviantArt page back in the day. So like if I were looking for a job, I could probably tweet about it and get into the conversation in more places than like what was possible for me last time I was unemployed. But that's only because I've built like an audience and people are aware of me professionally. You can build a professional reputation without actually having worked anywhere. Just because people see your work on a daily basis by like virtue of them, you know, following you. But a lot of the people I know that work in the games industry don't actually have social media. Like they develop a professional network that allows them to maintain like coherent, like, you know, presence in the industry without actually ever like developing an online reputation. Face-to-face reputations still matter, like a lot. So you could go the audience route, and I think that's the tempting thing to do because it feels like more under your control. But like I'm telling you, like a lot of the biggest talents in like the game and film industries have like no social media presence, and no one outside of those industries have really heard of them, because like they haven't actually needed to look for a job in so long, because they just keep getting carried by like the strength of their work and their professional network. So they don't actually like ever develop an audience. Some of the people that work on the biggest projects actually still do maintain social audience, but like a bunch of them don't. Rather not go the audience route. Too much drama. I mean, I've gotten involved in drama, but it's been entirely my fault for getting involved in it. You can develop an audience without drama. You just need to stay away from takes if your main take is that you like are sharing paintings, like you can't get in that much trouble. Here's from WoW. I want to see. Yeah, Davis. Oh, these are great. Damn. It's fantastic. They didn't show your entry? Huh. That's cool. Yeah, the only thing I ever did for WoW was that one Arbiter painting that for the Shadowlands. Oh, I did a couple of really crappy cards for the WoW card game too, way back in the day. But that wasn't working directly with Blizzard. That was through Hasbro? I think Hasbro was doing it for them at the time. FFE line. Hi, just discovered your stream and your Discord server. Hope you have a good time in it. Yeah. The server is great. I'm so proud of the Huckleberry server. The crowd there has been so nice. I think one of my issues with growing an audience is I'm not opinionated enough about things. I don't think that's true. I think that's actually like a really common feeling that people have. I know I've had that feeling. And then I've gone and tried to like spin up hot takes or like say things forcefully in an effort to like get people's attention. Oh, it's such a mistake. I regret every time I've ever done that. Styles off. Oh, thank you. I've always wondered about really skilled artists like James Zapata who pretty much vanish from social media. Do they work in studios? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I know James Zapata mostly from people talking about him. I actually have never followed his stuff. I don't know what his deal is. I mean, sometimes when people disappear for long periods of time, it's because they are working on something that's like under NDA. It's really easy to disappear if you are on like a large NDA project. Ever since I started like working on Huckleberry, I've had to like learn about a lot of new artists whose like main thing is they're well known for their like educational material, because I never followed art YouTube, and I never watched any kind of content that was like directed towards artists. So now I'm like learning about all this content in an effort to like get current on it all, getting introduced to a lot of new people's work. Is that Aztec graphic around the waist? No, I mean, I started doing this sort of like right angle pattern stuff for Angelarium things, I think based off of Shadow of the Colossus. They do this a lot in Shadow of the Colossus. And so that's where I was like, I think first picking that up as like a design note. The art community on YouTube outside the educational side is weird. I've been mostly looking at the educational side, and I think the educational side is weird. Like, a lot of the commentary that I see from, like, the ones that are especially weird are people who are, like, not successful artists who have, like, really successful channels. So it's like an amateur artist, and they'll be, like, commenting on how to learn or, like, grow as an artist, but they won't have actually gotten to fulfill like their most basic goals of like, you know, working in a game studio or being a successful independent illustrator or whatever. And yet they'll be giving advice on like what you should and shouldn't do. And I'm always like, damn, this person needs to like spend more time listening, less time talking. is there's these echo chambers that form of people who like all of them like are kind of looking to each other to figure out like what they're all supposed to be doing, but like none of them are achieving it. But the people who seem like either most confident or most loud or like, you know, furthest along tend to kind of take over the conversation. Everyone follows them, even if they've like don't know what they're doing. I've watched it happen in a number of environments, and so I see that happening a little bit on YouTube. Yeah, and it makes me think like, you know, like success on YouTube is not entirely like predicated on the people speaking knowing what they're talking about. So like the greatest, most perfect pieces of advice are maybe not like what people really need, but they need like what they want out of YouTube is like a conversation. The Canvas is an interesting channel for analytical commentary on traditional art and artists. All right, cool. Coming out of a 2-year burnout, damn. I think the thing about the thing to think about is that being known in an industry is that it can come with its own share of drama. To become a reputable art lead or art director means you need to navigate corporate environments to get the right perspectives or be selected to and outperform your peers. There's a finite number of roles and people roles and people outperform each other or play a social game in order to secure those opportunities. That is true. Like a lot of the people who are in the best position to be able to speak on a lot of topics, the people who have like the greatest amount of experience, often can't speak for political reasons. Like a lot of the advice that you hear about working at studios is like really milquetoast, primarily for the reason that like no one ever wants to talk about the ups and downs of what it's like to work for a big company, because to speak about the worst parts of it is to put your employment in jeopardy. So like you're only ever to kind of allowed to sort of say like, oh, it's really cool, it's great, I love working on Ubisoft games, you know, and it's worthless as like commentary to like learn about what it's like to actually be a studio artist. So you need to like listen to people who are like either former experts or like up and coming experts, but like not people who are really actively engaged in it, because their primary job is not commentary, and they like there's real serious jeopardy to like speaking openly from a lot of environments. Cartoony ass style hobbyist for now, artist. So being a professional digital paint type environment feels a bit off. I don't know, you should hang out in the Discord. Most of the people that like hang out on Huckleberry don't paint in the same style as I do. A lot of them are like cartoony or like into animation. Like there's a pretty diverse group of like different art styles and stuff. People are up to different things. It's really not focused expressly on like digital painting and like my work. You know, it's a much more diverse kind of group. It's part of the reason it works. All right, I've almost clocked in my 2 hours here. This is good. I got some serious work done today. Burnout is not real, it's just an excuse. Spoken by somebody who's not only a real asshole, but's never been actually burned out. Yeah, good luck with that fucking take. It's just like your feelings, man. It's not even real. I think Hideo Kojima is an example that you can have a reputation, but there's still a game to be played, or that the system works against you. He built up enough of that rep to be safe. Most people in corporate structure are never completely immune. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's always annoyed me about like art conversation, is that like a lot of the people who are the people who like everyone wants to hear from are the people who are in the highest positions of prestige. And people who are in high prestige positions have a lot to lose by speaking openly. And so you can never really get a complete story from somebody who's in a position of high prestige. And yet everyone wants to hear from them. It's like, if you really want to hear from them, you need to get around them when they're drunk and not when they're doing a talk. Hearing somebody do a webinar or hearing somebody do a panel or whatever is going to be boring. Boring. What you need is you need to get near them. You just need to quietly sidle up near them at the bar when they're around people they're comfortable with, and you're going to get to hear what it's, what they're really like and what the whole thing is that they're involved in is really like. That's doable in the right environments sometimes. But I mean, even in those environments, I found that like people I knew that worked at like larger companies, they would actually be really, really careful about how they interacted, even in closed door environments. Like even in like a bar around peers, they would drink less, they would volunteer less, they would bring up their own work less, they would be asking more questions of other people to get the conversation away from them. I'm thinking of just taking most of the rest of the year to consume media and build them ref inspo boards. Any tips for that though? No. I think if you want to do art, you should just make art and just like don't put pressure on yourself to like make a certain kind. I think the idea of like just watching media and building ref boards is just like you putting yourself in an anxious hole where you never get anything done and then you never feel like you're ready to pull out of it. Are you going to be there all the days for Lightbox Expo? I will, unless somebody gets so mad that they like shoot me on the floor. Yeah. As long as I can make it out, as long as I'm alive all those days, I will be there for most of the day at my table in the bad boy corner. Shigeru Miyamoto will probably never pull a Pete and talk about collaborations with canceled music artists or on Twitch stream. Yeah, that's true. I got comms to keep my drawing arm busy anyways. Ugh. So you're like just going to like lust after the ability to draw what you want, and you're going to draw people's shitty D&D characters the whole time? That sounds awful. Not gonna lie, that sounds like a recipe for like burning, like never wanting to make art ever again. I mean, it's like, this is the thing, like you want to escape the pressure of feeling like you need to be good at art. And so you're like, I'll just do art that people are asking me to do, and I'll just do that in like a good way, and like I'll look at good art and like do it. But it's like, no, that's not it. You can't do that. It's not how this game is played. If you want to ball, you have to ball. The end. If you want to play the game, you have to love it. If you don't want to play, then you're never going to get good at it. You're not going to sit around and watch like old recordings of like other people playing games and then be like, yeah, I'm studying for my eventual return. No, you just got to get out there and play. Just play. Imagine it's a sport. Get out there and play some friendlies. Do it every weekend. Do it every weeknight you can. Just get out there and play some friendlies. Be a part of a local league. Go to the pub with your mates afterwards. Just play the game. You don't need to be good. You don't need to be great. You don't need to win. You just need to play. How can I play if there's no game? What do you mean there's no game? Everything's a game. Thanks, Milan. There's no meaningful connections to form. Oh, yeah? Game of life. Yeah, no, I mean, no mean connections, huh? You're like, I can't play golf. I'm not invited to any tournaments. Okay. Yeah, that's your perspective on things. Fine. I mean, I guess I can't convince you. It's fine. Hello, people happy. Hey, Rack. Connections are the only meaningful aspects of life. Damn, it's getting downright philosophical in here. I feel like I'm gonna have to turn the air conditioning on. Life is like Mario Party. You can choose whatever minigame you want. Life is like Mario Party. Oh, I didn't turn on my video on Discord, so there's people in here and they're like, here, I'll turn on the video. I thought I turned on the video. Sorry. Do you have AC in the bunker? I don't. I've got a fan behind me, but I just rely on like AC coming down the hallway. Any tip on drawing when you haven't had an idea for drawing in 6 years? Stop drawing because I just did studies. Ooh. I just like doing it. But having a goal would be nice to get back into it. Interesting. I think that one of the risks of studies, like if you build if your whole art identity is around building studies, it will affect your ability to create imaginative work. And this is something I never personally struggled with because like I was always just trying to figure out how to do my next imaginative painting, and I never did any studies. And I thought, you know, it's really fucked up that like I've managed to build this whole career without doing any studies. And then I realized, well, you know, it's not that I never like studied anything. I was like looking at reference for my paintings, but also like the fact that I was always, you know, I was always on the field. I was always balling. Like I was always making new stuff. I was always playing the game. Meant that I was getting better. And I was never getting lost just like in training mode, you know? And so it's like, because some FZD students told me that I should do absolutely nothing but study anatomy until I master it. Oh my God, what a fucking stupid idea. That is not how it gets done. You're not stupid. Listen, let me clear this up. The people who told you that didn't know what they were talking about. That is not how you learn art. That's how anybody learned to do art. Feng Zhu did not learn how to get good at art because he sat around doing studies until he mastered studies and he moved on to making stuff. Every artist that you know got good by fucking around and sometimes studying. And it was the part where they played. It was the part where they had fun. It was the part that they got emotionally invested. It was the part that carried them through and made them who they are. And now they're out there telling you to study because they want to give actionable advice. But that's not how anybody gets good. And if you don't know what to draw, that's fine. Draw some fan art. Just draw whatever you like. You do need to improve, but if you draw what you love, improvement will come on its own. It's true. That's that's the way I did it largely. I personally think that the idea of mixing in some studies to specifically focus on like areas of improvement, as a like, it's sort of like if you, again, going back to the sports metaphor, because I'm like in love with this metaphor recently. It's like sometimes you need to do drills or you need to go into the gym. But that is only in order for you to improve out on the court. That's it. Like, the point of it is not to like become perfect in the gym so that you someday go out on the court and then you'll be like adequate. The point is like, you go, okay, well, I could be more effective on the court if I were to get a little stronger or a little heavier or whatever. And so you go into the gym to like improve yourself on a specific dimension in order to be more effective at this thing that you are engaged with already. And the same is true here with art. If you're engaged with art and you're making it and you're getting shit done, like, and then you decide like, I really need to improve on a specific dimension. Like I really need to like learn, like I could really be more effective as a character artist if I knew what all the muscles were. Okay, great. Go take a course or buy a book or whatever and like learn what all the muscles are. But like, you don't need to go and master anatomy before you start like making stuff. All that's going to do is make you progressively grow frustrated and hate art and quit. Like, it's like trying to do push-ups in order to learn how to play basketball. It's ridiculous. Studies can be fun, the same way that going to the gym can be fun. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with studies. I think there's something wrong with the idea that like that is a prerequisite to becoming an artist. It's its own thing, and it has its own value. And like the two of them can like mesh in a way that's productive, but like it's not, one does not precede the other. I'm convinced that the reason why people give this advice also is because they're trying to erase the cringe out of their own origin story. That like a lot of people, like the way they learned was by drawing a bunch of cringy OCs and posting them around for their friends and stuff. And at some point they decided to take themselves seriously. And so when somebody asked them like, how do you learn? They go, studies. Because they want to skip over the part where they like did a bunch of cringy OCs and then reinvented themselves when they started to get like serious about art. But like, I'm convinced that those cringy OCs were like an essential part of their identity and like their learning. And that by skipping over that, they're doing a disservice to the people that they're trying to educate. Wait, hold up. The cringy OC part is a bad take too? No OC is cringy? Okay. I was like, uh-oh, somebody's cooking. You're hanging out with the wrong crowd. You're hanging out with the people on the wrong side of the tracks. Dammy Killer is saying, I often find the professionals that have been doing their jobs for years really don't know the best way of being a beginner or any other stage under them since they haven't been there for so long. This is a good take. Often very skewed to their own very specific preference and their idea of importance and order. That is very, very true. One of the things that I find, if you look around for advice, you will always see people giving you advice for the thing that they learned last. So you're going to like come across like, you're going to hear some advice guy, somebody like an Andrew Huberman or like who's the 4-Hour Workweek guy? Tim Ferriss. People who are like built an entire empire on giving advice. And what they're going to do is instead of focusing on stuff that is like, if you ask them like, oh, what's most important? They're going to be like, I just learned the importance of sleep. I just fixed my sleep and it's incredible. It's like, I've got a new lease on life. And it's like, okay, listen, the number one thing you need to learn is not sleep. That's just the most recent thing that guy learned. And that's like, all humans have recency bias. And so anybody you talk to for advice, you're going to go to an expert artist and you're going to be like, what's the most important thing I need to learn? The thing that's going to come to their mind is the last thing they learned. And it's like, it could be something that's never going to be useful to you. But like recency bias is a hell of a thing and it like throws everybody off. Like the only people that I think are really going to be able to give good advice for beginners are people whose primary job is working with beginner artists. So like people who teach first year classes at a college probably have decent advice, maybe. But anybody who's like a seasoned professional and you're a beginner, just about anything they say I think is probably going to be wrong. Wrong for you. Correct in general, but wrong specifically for you. I mean, like, if some colorful Sonic OC with bat wings or something probably makes its owner and friends around them very happy, I don't think it's cringy. Yeah, I agree with you. Not everything is for everyone. You know, I got on that train a long time ago where if I see something that I really hate, I need to say, it's not for me. It's just not for me. Unlike, I used to be in an environment where a lot of people would want to pull up what they thought was the most cringy art, and they would want to like parade it around and show how cringy and awful of a person this person was because they wanted to draw a sexy raccoon or whatever. And it's just like, it's not a healthy way to live. Yeah, there's different types of advice that make sense at different stages in different artist journey. That's true, but beyond that, a lot of artists all need different advice, and not just because of like where they are in their journey, but like who they are as an artist. Like I want to do this React video to like 1000 showing off his like art process, because like I was like, oh man, you know, like he kind of apologizes for not doing like good fundamental drawing practice. But it's like his style doesn't require it. He's built like this fucking huge art empire in a style that does not require a lot of the things that people refer to as fundamental. And so it's like you could say, oh, you have to learn these things. Well, this incredibly successful person who is like amazing at what they do and like has a lot to teach, like didn't do any of those things that are quote unquote fundamental. And so like, why should we call them fundamental, and why should we demand that somebody who doesn't even know what they want like have to learn these things first? It doesn't, you know, it's the right piece of advice for somebody, it's the wrong piece of advice for another person. Any piece of advice that's right for someone is guaranteed to be wrong for someone else. And so giving really like broad declarations exactly the way I'm doing right now, always there's going to be strays. Actually, how do I define who I am as an artist? That's a really tough question. And it's one where I do not try to give broad advice. It's the sort of thing I like to work with people individually, if I get to know them, working with them in a mentorship. But like, that's actually one of the core things that like, I'm trying to work with people on when I'm doing a mentorship with them, because it's a really personal question. And therefore one of the more important ones to answer. I've always found the best results from learning things just in time. Pick up a project, learn your way through it. Not bad. I would say mostly yes, I would agree. Over-learning will often get you stuck doing theory. But here's the thing. People I found that are really into over-learning actually make really good case studies for somebody who is potentially going to be like a valuable educator. I think one of the characteristics that leads to people becoming like a good teacher is the kind of person who's like naturally into over-learning. Because they're going to know, like, I know some artists who just love getting into the academic side of things. And it doesn't serve them in terms of like work. But then when it comes for them to lecture, holy shit. Like that's when all that stuff comes back to roost. Like they act as almost like a battery that like contains knowledge. Like it's not the battery doesn't need to have the electricity. It's like they provide a service for like collating and containing a lot of stuff for other people to draw from. And so like even in a case where it's like not useful for you, it doesn't mean that you are not useful to other people through that same way. Fake it till you make it. Damn you, kill you. You've got a lot of advice today. This deeper reds and browns are nice. Thank you. There's a lot of things that you would say, like, no one should ever do that. And then you can find an education and be like, actually, it's really important. You're right. They really, really do need to do that. But only some people. Only some people is like kind of the thing. Some people need some things, other people need other things. And like, everyone needs to learn what they need instead of getting caught up in somebody else's bullshit, which is why I get always a little bit upset when somebody tells me that they went on a 4-year side mission because some other art student told them they absolutely needed to study Loomis or whatever. I'm like, okay. I think fake it till you make it is like fine as an advice for some things, but I think it gets confused for other pieces of advice. Like, I think my advice of like just ball is like basically fake it till you make it, which is just work and just do whatever, just play, is like the real advice underneath fake it till you make it when we're talking about art. And I don't think it is a matter of faking it. I think you should just genuinely be excited to be making stuff, and it doesn't matter if you're good at it or not. I don't think that's faking it. I think it's genuine. Often hated how stagnant college made me in creativity. I was often butting heads with my art teachers. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. I had art teachers who didn't give a shit. So what I did is I did a lot of personal projects on the side during college, and that's what ultimately, that's kind of how Angelarium came about in the first place. And that's where I learned a lot of my skills, was like all of the sort of like peer learning from other artists online and learning from other artists in person. Well, in between times where I was supposed to be doing like school assignments, I would tend to get like really big epic paintings done as a way of avoiding like my finals projects. So like once per quarter, as like my schedule got really crunched, I would actually usually finish like a big epic painting. And that was like where I got a lot of my learning done, was like in avoiding the work. So I felt like I learned a lot during college, not from college. Do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy is like such a tricky thing to say, because like I find that when I give that advice to people, they tend to take it in ways that are unproductive, which sounds tough to do, but I mean, it's really easy to do. Like, I don't think that people like personally, I like am made happy by taking on challenges. Some people like take the advice of do what makes you happy as like permission to like not ever be challenged and not ever do anything new or hard. And I think that that's required in learning. So it's like, that's one of those ones that like, I think is true if you zoom out far enough, but is maybe not specific enough to actually incite any specific decisions. We were regularly told to break the rules. What if their only rule is that there are no rules? I could say I'm self-taught, but I'd think that I'd be giving myself too much credit. I could say that a lot of the biggest things I learned technically were from tutorials or from demos that I got from people who were about the same art level as me. So I always say peer taught instead of self-taught, and it's not a trend. It's just trying not to be conceited about what happened. I'm trying to tell it like it really happened, which is to say, like, I just picked up all the things that were valuable to me and I kept them. I got all this different big pile of stuff to sift through. I grabbed the bits that I wanted and I left everything else. And you could say that's self-taught, but I don't know if it is. Like, I'm really enjoying working on my Vash piece, but I'm also equally frustrated and annoyed by the process. That, I think, is ideal. You could say, oh, you should do what you love, but I think what you love should also bug you. I think that when you're doing what you love, you should be bothered and frustrated. I think like some people feel like when they start to get frustrated, they feel like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. And I'm like, no. There's a certain type of frustration that means that you're doing it right. It's like, again, to go back to like the physical metaphor, like you should know the difference between like my shoulder hurts because I've pulled a muscle and like my shoulder hurts because I've done a lot of shoulder exercises. You know, there's like I feel great after a workout pain, and there is like I have injured myself pain. And if you don't know the difference between them, you can't say like, oh, you should never work out. You should avoid hurting yourself during a workout. People will go like, okay, well, I'm never going to experience discomfort in the gym. It's like, no, you have to experience discomfort, but you should not work in an environment that is causing you like damage. But like you need to have to have enough relationship with the different types of discomfort to know the difference between healthy discomfort and unhealthy discomfort. And it's not, when we're talking about mental states, it becomes really challenging to like tell people like, oh yes, you are hurting and therefore it's working, or you're hurting and therefore you should stop. It's difficult to make that judgment unless you know the person intimately. So when you hear broad piece of advice about like how hard you should be working, like, oh, you should be studying all the time, you should be like drawing every day, you should be, sitting through the discomfort, there's lots of broad bits of advice that people will pat themselves in the back for when it comes to this sort of thing. And in a lot of cases, people are not taking it in the way it's intended, or not taking it in productive ways, because it's a really vague piece of advice that's being given, to the air, like to the open air, and not to an individual. I think if there's someone who knows you really well and knows like art and art education really well, who's going to talk to you about like you need to stick with your paintings longer past the point where you're comfortable, they might be able to give you really good advice on that. But if you're just like pulling something from a YouTube video on that respect, on that kind of subject, you could really, again, injure yourself, go down a 4-year side quest, and like just burn out and never want to do art again. Just like, I wouldn't want that for anybody. Yeah, it's like, it's lines of paper. Welcome. I'm glad you like the advice. This has been a big advice stream. You guys have gotten me on one, and I've gotten some progress in this painting. So it's a big, good stream today. This is one of my favorite streams I think I've done in the last few months. So thanks everyone for being here. But I think I'm going to log out on a high note. I just want to drink a water and like rest my brain a little bit. I got some good progress on this, so I'm gonna lock it in. I'm gonna save the file, and I'll probably come back and like be hanging out on the Discord tonight. Maybe poke this again when I'm off air. So we're gonna find somebody to raid, and we're gonna go and bring the love out to another stream. Thanks. Glad you like the progress. Here, let's take a look at where. Here's the coverage from today. Here's before, after. Basically the same painting after, I don't know how many brush strokes this is, several hundred, maybe a couple thousand. And I've got double that or triple that or more before this thing's going to be done. So we got hours left to go. I'll probably do a lot of it either on Discord or hanging out watching a movie. I'm going to try to do this again. I'll try to do this again because this is a great stage of a painting to be able to work on while chatting. And it really gets me going, gets the humors stirred up. If you want to see next time it's going to happen and you're not following, hit that follow button so that you can know when I'm going to be online. I'm happy with this painting. I'm happy I got to share some of it because this one I'm pretty proud of. I think it's going to turn out all right. Hilaria V. Okay, turn the music off. I'm gonna try to get through their opening ad here. Oh, it's intended for certain audiences. Okay, we got some waifu action going here. Nice. Oh, maybe if I should type all the letters correctly, it would help. All right. Thanks everyone who showed up. I'll be back tomorrow. I might be doing a study. I might be working on this. We'll find out together. In the meantime, I'll see you on the other side. Goodbye.